Today, you're going to learn how to create a full-on ticketing system in ClickUp. If you don't know me already, I'm Ramzi and I'm a ClickUp verified consultant. I've been setting up ClickUp for clients, agencies, service businesses for a few years now, and I know the outs and outs of ClickUp and this tool. One of the most common requests I get is, can we handle client requests or internal requests in ClickUp? And the answer is yes. You can get rid and completely ditch your ticketing system if you have any, and I'm going to show you how to straight into that tool. And on top of that, I'm going to show you some automations you could use that could save you and your team hours from ticket management. Now, we're going to get started by framing out what we need to do. And I always recommend to start with a whiteboard to be able to create a framework for any system you set up in ClickUp. We're going to create a flow diagram that summarizes what you need to do when you have a client or an internal request. We're going to take the example of an agency that has some delivery requests from their clients that come in. So for this, we need to be able to intake those requests. So we're going to start with a ClickUp form. Once we have that form in, we need to prioritize it. We need to know if it's high priority, low priority. Do we need to handle it this week or next week? Is it very important? So what we need is to prioritize. And then once we've prioritized it, we need to assign it. We need to determine who does it. Assignee is required. Once it's gone through every single step of your workflow, we need to say it's done. And potentially we need to inform the person that did the request that it's done. Obviously, this is a very simple workflow. It's a one-size-fits-all workflow. There could be more complex steps, more variables, different conditions, and you need to assess what those are and fine-tune your workflow and use the actual features from that in ClickUp. But in that case, we're keeping it simple. You have a ClickUp form, prioritizing, assigning, and informing the request creator. So first things first, if we get to ClickUp, we need to create the form. I'm going to add an empty list in my ClickUp space and call it client tickets. And we're going to add a view. And if we go into view, there's a view called form view. Now, I've explained extensively how to create and manage a form and how to use form views in a dedicated video, but I'm going to go very quickly on how to create a form right here. Otherwise, stay with me. We're going to create a very simple form from scratch, and I'm going to call it client requests. And then I need to add a few fields. So I need to add a task field and call it request name. And then I need to add a description and call it request description. And maybe I need to add optional attachments. So I'll add attachments optional. And then we have our requests. I'll remove the branding from ClickUp and I'll keep the fields full width. I can add a little icon if I want to. I'll click save. If I go to preview, we have a form right there. And you can use that form internally by giving access to that list in read access at least, and right-clicking the view and clicking copy link to view. Because in this situation, it's a client request, it's very likely it comes externally. So you have to copy that link and then paste it to your browser, and anyone on the internet will have access to that form. They'll be able to create a new task if they want to, and your request will come in to your list. We have our request right there. We have description. I'm keeping it very simple. So we put some details. We can attach a file if we want to, and then all we have to do is click submit. Right there in ClickUp, in the list, there's a new task created, and that's our request. So now that's done, we have a base for a ticketing system because we have a priority. We can handle it here. We can assign the request to someone, and we can potentially set a due date if we wanted to for the request. So it works, but there's a few layers missing. I'm gonna add everything we can do to make ClickUp a real request management system. First thing, we need to handle request stages. I'm gonna add that step right here. As soon as we assign the task, we need to handle the stages. So we need to get back to ClickUp and create those stages. I'm gonna go to ClickUp, right click on the client tickets list, list settings, and list statuses. I'm gonna pick a very simple workflow. You need to really think of what my stages are to handle a ticket. Does it go through a review process? Does it go into in progress, closed? I'm gonna go right here and use this open ticket status, maybe an in progress status, and maybe I'll use an on hold status, and maybe a solved status and a complete. Solved could be the status you use to inform your client. So a ticket is open, it comes up, then it's in progress, then maybe there's something missing, you need more info, it goes to on hold, and then solved and complete. I'm gonna click apply changes and save template and apply. And if we go into the little dot right here, we have our new ticket stages: open, in progress, on hold, solved, complete. This is something very basic, and you can complexify the stages, the statuses, depending on your team needs. So if a task goes from designer to developer, for example, you need to customize and specify your stages so that it follows the workflow that you need. Back to our diagram, we have progressed on our ticketing system, but I'm gonna add another layer. And in this layer, I'm gonna think, what can I automate in this workflow? And that is something that I advise you to do for any system you create. Once you've built the structure, you need to think, what could be automated? What do we always systematically do that we could free up time and let the machine do for us? There's a few things we could automate, and I'm gonna only focus on internal ClickUp automations for now. And at the end of the video, I'm gonna show you some potential automations that could make ClickUp a real powerhouse for your ticket request system, because we could definitely leverage some external automations. We could leverage AI, we could create agents that handle those ticket requests. The possibilities are infinite, and I could show you a workflow of how that looks. But for this, you first need to understand the core of it and understand what we could automate in ClickUp first. I'm gonna add this yellow layer and say I want the new ticket to come up in a specific structure or with a SOP next to it, so that whomever is going to handle that ticket knows exactly what steps to go through. So we need a ticket template, and I'm going to create a very simple template for this example, but we'll go through that later. Then regarding prioritization and assignation of tasks, we could say, based on a certain priority, we'd want our task to be assigned to someone specific. So this is an example. It might not work in your case, or you might need to refine this kind of automation logic. You could have a combo of a priority and a due date, and based on those, it would be assigned to a certain person. You could think of more complex assignee automations, but we're going to keep it simple for this one and say high priority and urgent tasks should be assigned to person A, and low priority tasks should be assigned to person B. This is a possible automation. I'm going to show you how to do it in ClickUp. And then we could automate informing the request creator. We could say requests complete, assigns creator, and leaves them a comment. So this is basically saving ourselves time from doing all of this manually in ClickUp, and I'm going to show you how to create those 4 automations to save yourself time too. First automation, the ticket template. We're going to create a new task, and we're going to call it requests template. I'll open up that task, and in here, I'm just going to add an SOP for how to handle requests. So I have a very simple SOP that I'm going to paste here. This means that every time a new task will be created, it will have that SOP here. Potentially, we could add a description, we could add some more extra info if we wanted to, but that's not what we need. It's not very important for now. What matters is that you see that any new task will have that task structure applied. So I'm going to leave this and go into request template and right click on it and go into templates and save as template. I'll call it request template demo. Click save template. And now what we want is go into automation for that list. And as soon as a task is created, apply a template. And we're going to pick our requests template. It's this one, and click use template. So that means each time we have a task created, we apply the request template demo. I always name my automations, and I recommend you to do the same because these help me see explicitly what it does just from the automation panel and not having to just really open it up, understand what it does. So I recommend to put a title and even a description to document your automations well. Now, next automations, we need for low priority tasks and high priority and urgent tasks to be assigned to A and to B. And we could even say, and set to next 7 days, and maybe low priority set to next 14 days. So I'm gonna show you how to do those. And let's get back to ClickUp and add the first automation and say when the priority is set to urgent or high, then assign the task to Diane. I'm gonna name this automation as well. And we could even say its due date is set to 7 days after the trigger date as we planned, and click create. So we have our second automation done. I'm going to duplicate it and say when a task is normal or low priority, it's assigned to someone else. The assignee becomes maybe Lucas, and it's to do 14 days after the trigger date. I'm going to click duplicate, and I can just copy and paste this automation name and say it's assigned to Lucas when it's low or medium. So now, last automation. Request complete, assign creator, and leave a comment. If a request is complete, basically the statuses goes to the complete status, we assign the creator and we leave a comment. And ClickUp lets you dynamically assign the ClickUp creator. So we go into tasks, and when a task is created and its status changes to solved, then we set the assignee not to a specific user, but to the task creator. So we're gonna remove the current assignee and add the task creator as an assignee. So dynamically, based on whomever created the task, ClickUp will know who it was and reassign it to them. So I'll click create, and then you can say task complete, reassign creator. And second thing we could do is add a comment. We're going to leave a comment that says your request is complete, and we could even mention the person. So I could say at task creator, your request is complete, have a look. Perfect. Now I'll say task complete, reassign creator. As disclaimer, this feature only works if ClickUp knows who's the creator. It only works if you use the internal ClickUp form link and not the external one. And also if you give access to that list to the person, because if they don't have access to the list, ClickUp won't know who created it. Again, this is really important. You need to make sure you go into forms and actually share the link here in the view, copy link to view, and not this one, because this one is an external link. Later down the line, I'm going to show you a second, much more powerful automation that lets you intake emails in this form and send emails to whoever made the request. But let's first try this very basic system. So we have a new request that comes, and say we have a design request. I need a new website, a wireframe. Okay, so we have a request. I'm going to add an attachment. Okay, new website wireframe. Please have a look at the old one, approved attached, and click submit. Now, once we've created this task, there's automations happening behind the scenes. So first automation, if we open it up, it applied the actual template. So we have our SOP on how to handle a request. You have to intake the ticket, prioritize it, etc., etc. Whoever arrived and needs to work on this knows exactly how to handle it. Obviously, that SOP can be very different. You could also store your SOP in your company wiki and mention your company wiki in the template. You can really do it the way you want. This is a very basic solution. I personally store SOPs in documents and then mention those documents into the tasks so that each time I edit the document in one place, that new SOP is reflected on every single task that has it mentioned. And this is more powerful than having SOPs in tasks. I talk about this in a dedicated video. Now, say I think this request is urgent. I'm gonna change its status. And what happens is that it's going to be reassigned to the right person because we've set up the automation that assigns it to Diane and sets it up for 7 days from now, so 31st of January. And Diane has it automatically in her backlog. And if we wanted to, we could also sort our tasks by priority to see who does what. And if we have a new task popping in, or if the priority changes, it goes and gets sorted into the right area. So we have some urgent task priorities, some high, some normal ones, and we could see them due to the group by priority in our list view. It's starting to get interesting because we have a clear view on what to do. We have our assignee automatically assigned based on our priority. We have our due dates set based on our priority, and we're starting to have a system that looks nice. Now we open up the task and say Diane handles it. So it goes to in progress, it goes to whatever status, and then goes to solved. Last automation, ClickUp will reassign this task to me because I am the one that created it. So it's going to be reassigned to my account. And as you can see, it's dynamically being assigned to me. If I go into my inbox, I get this notification, your request is complete, have a look, and we can see what Diane worked on. Now, again, this only works if it's an internal request, but this goes to show that you can create a very powerful ticketing system in ClickUp and integrate some automations. I'm going to show you now how we could potentially handle fully external requests that would come from an email into ClickUp and answer to whomever sent that email straight in ClickUp, and have a fully automated system that doesn't even use ClickUp form. The structure stays the same. It's basically the assignee, priority, due date. We can keep the automations. Maybe the one we need to turn off is the one that reassigns to the creator. This one's not needed because the request will come from an email. Let's structure how we would do it if it was external. I'll use a new color for everything that is external. I'll use blue, for example, and say, we have our request come through an email. Okay, so then it's not a form anymore. It goes straight to a ClickUp task that we need to prioritize. Everything ClickUp is in white. And then we assign it and we handle it in the different stages, and we inform the request creator via email this time. Blue again. To summarize, we have our request coming from email. We apply the template, we prioritize it, we assign it, we handle it in the coming 14 or 7 days. We have different stages, everything I've shown you so far. And then we inform the request creator by email. So to do this, we need to use two ClickUp features. One that automates receiving requests in ClickUp and one that automates emails sending in ClickUp. I'm going to start with the first one. Requests come from an email. So we get to ClickUp and right-click the list. If we go to email to list, there is an email address right here, okay? So I'm gonna copy it. Now, any email that's sent to this email address will be created as a task here in that list. That way, your clients can type in an email, send it to this address, and you can handle all your tasks in ClickUp, assign them, have the priority, have the due date, and it's fully transparent for your client. They don't know that their request is being handled that way. But what if you don't want them to see that it's a ClickUp email address? What you can do is create a forward rule that forwards every single email that's sent to an email address like support@yourcompany.com to this address. So if I diagram this, we can refine this that way. So request comes to support@yourcompany.com. Then you create a forwarding rule to this address, so whichever address you have in your ClickUp list, and then this task gets created. So there needs to be an intermediate forwarding step. All right. Now, Gmail lets you do it easily. It depends on your email client, but most email clients let you create those kind of rules. So request comes to this email, then it goes there, and then it's a ClickUp task. We're going to create a request example, and I'm going to go to Gmail and copy this email and send it an email. So I'm going to paste this email and say, I need a new design for the 2025 launch announcement. And then I can add an attachment and I can say, these are the details. Please have a look at the brief attached. Okay, great. Now click send, and that email will be sent to ClickUp. So that email will appear as a ClickUp task. If I refresh my ClickUp list, it should pop up as a task, and then it's going to be handled as a normal task in ClickUp. I need a new design for 2025 launch announcement. Great. We open it up, and then it has our details. It even has our attachments, and it has the template. That's amazing. A new client has requested us something, we receive it in ClickUp. It's structured exactly the way we want. If we want to even use the automations that we've set up previously, like the priority that would reassign it to Diane and set the due date, etc., etc. We go through the different stages, in progress, maybe it's on hold, maybe it's done. Now say I've solved this request, so it goes to solved. I want to inform the client that it's done. And instead of comments, I'm going to send an email to that client. So I'll use the email address that's right there, then say, your request is complete, okay? And then I can put something in the body and click send. We go into my mailbox. I've just received an email that says your request is complete, and it will actually appear as a reply in a ClickUp comment, so I can have communication in ClickUp for me and in the mailbox for my client. And this is really why I think ClickUp is capable of being an external ticketing system. You can handle external requests, there's no problem. There's the email to ClickUp feature. You can reply to that email. You can copy and paste the email that comes in right here. Now, this is quite powerful, but you could even automate the replies if you wanted to. You could go into automations, add an automation, and say, when the status changes to solved, then send an email. And it's gonna ask you to select your email account that you've connected to ClickUp. And then in the to address, you would need to put the email. But the thing is, there's no custom field for that email address. You need to add that custom field and go to our ClickUp list and add an existing field. I actually have a field called email. I recommend this all the time. Before you create a new field, make sure that you don't have an existing field that you've already created in your workspace. Because if you duplicate your existing field, your ClickUp workspace is going to become a mess. Always assess, do I have a field that has the exact same purpose first? So I'm going to add that email field. So now back to automations, what I can say is add an automation and go to email automation, pick my email address. Okay, great. And say, whenever status changes to solved, send an email to the custom field email. You can even say your request is complete, and they say request details, and you can input the task name and description that will dynamically fill up based on which task triggers the automation. And we can click create, and that's done. And as soon as the request is done, an email is going to be sent to that person. If we get to another task, for example, so if I change the status to open, if I were to put the email address here in that email field, I can copy and paste it, and then just change the stage to open. An email will be sent to that person automatically. Unfortunately, the email to ClickUp field here doesn't let you fill the email field automatically, but that is totally doable through external automation. So it's possible to have a tool like May.com, for example, connect your Gmail inbox, and as soon as you receive something in this mailbox, it will send the email to ClickUp instead of using the actual native ClickUp feature. It will know who was the person that requested the email. And then as soon as someone handled the task, you will send them an email saying your request is complete, request the details and everything. You can totally make it a back and forth automation system. You can totally reply directly here to the person, request them some more details, so you can communicate with them and they would reply from the email and you receive the progress, and as soon as it's done, it would automatically send them the status. I hope you get the hang of everything you could do with ClickUp and how you can make it an actual request management system, grouping things by statuses, grouping things by priorities if you wanted to, having a clear view on who does what. You could even make use of the different views. You can have the custom form system, but keep in mind, you want to do this progressively You want to keep it simple at first and complexify and automate everything. With a tool like ClickUp, the potential is huge. So the possibilities are infinite. You could automate this with external emails. You can even integrate AI agents that summarize the requests, that know which client list to put it in, and that prioritizes them for you, that assigns them for you. I could even show you how it looks very quickly. You could say in an ideal world where we're leveraging automation and AI, you have a new request, okay, coming in. We extract the email and we add it to the ClickUp field. I'm going to use green for AI and say an AI agent summarizes email and turns it to request. Another agent assigns it around robin, for example. If you want to use a round robin system, another agent prioritizes it based on all requests. And we can say an agent dispatches it to the right ClickUp list. If you're working for different clients, maybe you don't want all your requests to be in the same list. Maybe you actually want them to be automatically moved to the correct client list. You can definitely automate that with an AI agent that dispatches it to the right ClickUp list. And then request is handled, and then email is sent to client. So I've put in white everything that's manual in this workflow. Your client make the request, that's manual. Your request is handled. Obviously, the designer takes care of it or whatever. And everything else is handled by automations through make.com and AI agents working in your ClickUp account. This kind of system is what Upsys can set up for you. Not only can we set up actual ClickUp workspaces, automations, but we can also automate fully this for you and create a ticketing system that's AI powered in a software like ClickUp. I might do a dedicated video on how to set up those kinds of agents, but each company has its own system, its own way to work. So you'd need to do something custom for you anyway. But if you're interested to know more, all you can do is book a discovery call and we'll go through your processes, your workflow, and we'll either set up a very simple ticketing system like this one, or an AI powered one that's fully automated and that almost lets ClickUp work for you and handle and dispatch and prioritize your requests in your workspace. I feel like we're really in an era where a tool with a great user experience, with internal automation features, and with a very powerful API combined with AI, combined with everything you can do with automations, will really lift your work off. So thank you for watching this video. Feel free to watch the other trainings we have on ClickUp. It's down in the description below. And until then, have a good one and stay productive.